Welcome back, everybody, to Two Cent Tuesdays. I'm Sam Guthrie, the Community Outreach Coordinator at Remedy Church. Today with me, we have Gretchen Luedtke, who has started her own new business called Make Room, which is all about how to clean out your house and organize everything. So she's going to share with us how we're going to do that. So welcome, Gretchen.
Thank you so much, Sam. Yes. It is so good to be here with you. All of you.
Yes, everybody.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about how you even got started with all of this in the first place. What got you down this track?
Why did I start a business decluttering and organizing? It's kind of crazy to me. Like if you would have told me 5 years ago, like you're going to start a business, number one. And it's actually going to be organizing things. I think I would have been like, you got the wrong person. But last year, all of 2020, a friend of mine is a professional organizer and I hired her. And we went through my whole house and I made decisions about every item and she helped me organize them and put them away. And it was like this just like turning point moment where I was like, this makes such a difference in every area of my life, not just like the things, but the things that we have and what surrounds us like impacts our emotions and our spirit and our rest and our like just enjoyment of our space. And I was like, this is life changing. Everyone needs to do this. Everyone needs to know about this. And I think what also was eye opening to me was prior to that experience, I thought you're either born organized and you just happen to have that skill or you're not. And I was like, I can kind of, but like, I just don't think I can do that. And by learning this and going through this process with someone who's just coaching and like asking good questions, I was like, this is a learned skill. I just didn't learn it. And some people I think are naturally better at it, just like all things. But this was something that she shared her knowledge with me. I love teaching people new things. And it was just like eye-opening. Like I have this skill now. Like I can think differently about my things and where they go and how to take care of them. And through that experience, I mean, I talked about it all year, just like to all my friends, all my family, like, oh, we just went through this space or we just went through this stuff. And so by the end of the year, my parents reached out and they said, would you want to like help declutter our house? And I was like, that is like every 30 something's dream come true. Yes. Some might actually be true. Some are like, absolutely not. For me, it was like, I would love to do that with you. And so I just started doing sessions with them. And then a friend here and there were like, hey, would you help clean this? Or would you want to declutter this? And it was such a joy to like teach people this skill and see the difference it was making for them, like especially in spaces that were feeling so overwhelming to them, to have them just feel like so much lighter. So it was like just as much fun doing it for other people as it was for me. And so slowly this idea of like, what if I just did this?
And you did it.
And I did it. So
yes,
pretty fresh, January. As we record, it is end of April. So it's just been a couple months, but I've probably done about 35 to 40 sessions about 3 hours. So we've got some hours.
Yes,
definitely. People's homes. I've seen many an item.
So clearly this is a big need and not just, you know, your family, friends, like people all over have this, not always hoarding, but we accumulate so many things. So why do you think that is? Why do we accumulate all this stuff that just sits in our houses for years and years and years that we don't get rid of?
That's so good. I think that was a part of the process going through my own things. And I felt like I was someone that like was getting rid of stuff all the time, like had a little bag by the door. It's like, this is going to the thrift store. So it was just kind of shocking to me how much I got out of my home. And just the funny question, like, who brought all this stuff in here? And I'm like, I'm 34. We bought our house 2 years ago. I've been married for 8 years. And it was just shocking to me how many things. Just like the world that we live in and just the water that we're swimming in, if you will, is just like, stuff just keeps coming to you. It's easy to come by, like whether it's just given to you and like it's a gift from someone or they don't want it anymore, or it's just like, it's really easy to buy what you want when you need it. And then there's so many reasons why we don't want to let the things go. And once they've come in, they can represent like status. They can represent like hard work. Like I bought that. I like worked hard for that money and I paid for that. And so it feels wasteful to like not keep it anymore. A lot of our stuff have like seasons of life memories attached to them. And so that's really, really hard sometimes to acknowledge like that season's over. Um, and so we just, anything that reminds us of that person or that season, it's really easy to just like, I just can't let that go. And honestly, sometimes it's just like the busyness of life. Like all of our things kind of just become like the landscape around us. And we don't even notice how much stuff is there. It just is like, I don't notice that that item is sitting on my shelf because it's just always there. And so I don't necessarily think about it until I take it off, like remove everything off the shelf. And now I'm looking at it one at a time and I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't realize all this was sitting there. So yeah, there's so many reasons why it comes in, why we acquire it, and why it's so hard to like see it go or be intentional about, yeah, not having it anymore. So hope that answered your question.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, that definitely did. Because, yeah, there's
Yeah.
a lot of reasons. So then what's your process like with your clients going through those things, and how do you help them process what to keep and what to get rid of?
So good. There's a few different methods, and I kind of take the lead from the client, kind of what they're ready to do. Some people are like, we're going to overhaul the home. Like we're going to go through every item in the house. And so if we're doing room by room, I like to start with a room that either is just going to be like an easy win, like it's a smaller space, like a bathroom or something that's just like, let's just go through everything in here. But I'll just give an example, like going through my parents' house. We started in their living room. That was really the room that motivated them to want to do this because that's where they spent like quiet time in the morning. It was meant to just be like a restful space, but they just kind of were like, we're feeling the weight of the clutter in here. And so to start in a room that they would actually feel the difference like right away was huge. So what that looks like in a room is just like we took everything off the surfaces. We took everything out of the drawers that were in the living room. We are like even just like asking about every item that's hanging on the wall. And it's really this just like systematic process of looking at everything and asking. If you're a Marie Kondo fan, it's like asking, does this spark joy when I look at this or see this? For some people, everything in their home sparks joy. So you kind of take to the next level. Like, okay, like, have I used this? Do I need this? Do I want this? Like, and what's interesting is to watch clients. Some things are like, obviously, yes, like, yes, I love that thing. Or no, I don't even know why that's in my house. And then there's these items that are in the middle. They're like, I don't know. And so then to have a professional organizer, so when I'm there, I'm like, okay, tell me why you're hesitating there. Like, why isn't that an obvious, yes, I love this thing? And then we kind of dig into the like, well, it was a gift. Okay, let's talk about that. Like, when did you get it? Who gave it to you? Do you have other things from them that you actually really love? Like, and so then it's this like conversation about that thing. And so practically what our sessions look like is we're just dividing things into like keep, is it actually garbage? We pile a lot of stuff into thrift boxes and I take those things away to local thrift stores. And then I'm kind of asking how they use the space to help them like figure out where should the things that they're keeping end up. So either room by room, we'll go through a home, or category by category, which is kind of the Marie Kondo method.
Yeah. Speaking of the Marie Kondo method,
let's talk about her.
Yeah, let's do it.
So good.
Yeah, I think so. This kind of topic around organization, house cleaning has really become popular. I think specifically probably since Marie Kondo's book came out. Yeah.
She did something.
So for people who are wanting to do this by themselves at home, would you recommend following something like a Marie Kondo method or some other?
I mean, her method works really, really well. And for those who are unfamiliar with her, she's just like an organizing guru from Japan who wrote an amazing book about 10-ish years ago. And then she had a Netflix show called Tidying Up. But through her own experience doing this with people, she developed and kind of saw what roadblocks were for people. So I would really recommend her method as if you want to go through everything in your home and really be like one and done. Her dream is that like you would do this and you really wouldn't have to do this thing again. But if you really follow her method, like it's just an event. It's a marathon. It's just like you're just going. And if you've seen the show, it's just like days and days. It's like we're day 34 of just going through our house. But she goes category by category, kind of like least emotional to most emotional, ending with sentimental, starting with clothes, all of your clothing items in your whole house, all of your books are second, all of your papers. The fourth category is ginormous. It's just called kimono, which just means miscellaneous. So it's everything else. All of your kitchen stuff, all your toiletries, all your linens, all that stuff. And still going by category and then ending with sentimental. So even if I'm going through my books and I come across a book it's really more sentimental than just a book. It's like, oh, my grandpa gave me this. Like, I remember he read this to me. Don't even make a decision about that today. Like, that's a sentimental thing. Because really what you're doing is you're working this muscle of like, what do I actually enjoy? What actually do I want around me? Like, what do I want to, a question I ask my clients a lot is like, what do you want to bring into your future? Like, this obviously has served you at some point. Is it something you still want, like moving forward? And so she's got some really good just insights and experience. Her book is called The Magic of Tidying Up.
I think so. That sounds
The life-changing magic of tidying up. I was like, there's something life-changing about it. Good book.
But it's magic.
So if you're like, I'm all in, we need to just go through our whole house. I think for a lot of people that can be like, I can't do that. And so doing a room is helpful. So if Marie Kondo's like let's go for it method isn't helpful, I would still kind of take that philosophy of not starting with the hardest category. And like for some people, sentimental things, maybe everyone's sentimental about there's like such different things. It's really funny. But it's those things that are really hard to make a decision on. Don't start with those things because you haven't practiced like the skill of like saying yes and saying no. So starting with like, non-emotional, non-sentimental items. So it could just be your kitchen, which is just like a really practical place. But there are like 2,000 items in your kitchen. So your bathroom, your car, just tidying up your car and getting that cleaned out and just like, do I even need the stuff in here? Can feel like a little like motivator to like do the next space. I'm moving into more strategies, but Marie Kondo, she's got a great gauge. I think her motto is tidy the world. Tidy the world. That's her mission.
What's your mission?
Tidy Minneapolis, Twin Cities. Start there. Start there. Expand.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think people in your position, what's kind of the benefit of having somebody come in and help you with that rather than just doing that by yourself?
I loved, and again, I hired someone all last year because I was like, I don't know like where to start. So sometimes, especially people are like, I know I want to change. I know that this room is overwhelming to me. I just literally don't know where to start. And like on a Saturday morning, I don't wake up like, let me go down into my laundry storage room and just like clean it out. Sure. It's just like most people are like not motivated to do that. But bringing someone in that, number one, is not attached to any of your things, it's helpful. Because sometimes even having a spouse do it with you can be good and it can be hard because they're also attached to the things and might have an opinion about what you need and don't need. I or another professional organizer, no pressure, doesn't need any. They're really kind of taking their cues from you and really wanting to like understand how you use a space and like what your ideal lifestyle is and like, is this actually serving you or not? So just having a buddy there, I mean, everybody knows it's just like so much more motivating if you're not alone, just like doing this huge mountain of stuff. And so having someone there that isn't attached, they're not like feeling things about your items. So they're kind of helping you just make some more like objective decisions and just like asking good questions. The motivation to be like, you got this, you're doing a great job. Like, I know you're making 1,000 decisions right now, but you're doing so, so good. The encouragement, just like, especially after like your session is done, just be like, look at this, like, look what you did. This is so cool. And then the time is like blocked off. It's set aside. Like these 3 hours, these 4 hours, like Gretchen is coming, whoever's coming, like that's what we're doing. I've scheduled it in. So even if you're not hiring someone and you care to do this, like scheduling the time is just huge. Like these are big tasks. It's not a small thing to like go through your whole home and decide about each item, be intentional about that. So I would say those are some like initial thoughts as to like why it's super helpful to have somebody come and do it with you. Yeah. And it's just, yeah, it's so fun.
So you mentioned sentimental things. Those are the things that you should save for the end.
Yeah.
So when you get to that point, how do you do that? How do you go through all these sentimental things?
Items. People are sentimental about such different things. Like for one person, it's just the letters and the cards and the words. And for the next person, they're like, I couldn't care less about cards I get from people. It's like the souvenir T-shirt from, you know, the race that I did. And then the next person, it's like these little knickknacks that are from their childhood because they were at their grandma's house. Like there's so many different items, but really like the point of any sentimental item, and this is what I had to do myself, like mentally to go through my stuff. And then as I'm encouraging people to go through those, the point of any sentimental thing is to remind you of someone or to remind you of a season of life. Like either just remind yourself or so that you can tell a story to someone else. You can tell your spouse or your friend or your kids about your grandma. And this is a thing that reminds you of going to her house. And so some of the question related to that, like as you're going through those things is, do I even want to remember this person? Do I want to remember this season? Like when I look at this thing, is it bringing up like really horrible memories actually? Like there's no law that says you need to keep things as like, I feel like I wrestled with this like, but it's like historical, like this is part of my story. And it's like, this is my stuff. And I don't care to necessarily remember that season. And I think what was really interesting and freeing for me as I went through my stuff personally was I realized I'm not that sentimental about middle school and high school and college. Like some people are, and they have lots of mementos and yearbooks and things. And those were like the best years. And I didn't even have that bad of a high school experience, but it was just like, I just need a couple things that are like, here's where we went to high school. That's pretty much it, you know? And so, but other people, that might be like a really important thing. And as I've talked to people about the sentimental items, and if the point is to remember it and the point is to share it, I think what's become really important to me personally and when I'm coaching is just, I don't want those things sitting in the bottom of a bin in the back corner of your basement if like their purpose is to remind you of a person or and so how can we store those things in such a way where you could actually access them if you wanted to remember that person? If you could open a box or open a container of letters if you wanted to read them. A lot of people's sentimental stuff, mine included, is just in the giantest tubs, just at the bottom of a pile. And you're like, even if I wanted to remember that season of my life, I just can't get to it. So it's been important to me to figure out how to store those both at my house and in my clients' homes. Like, how can we store those so that they're like accessible for you and your family to see those notes, to see the pictures, to see, because what's the point of 50,000 photos? I mean, I can't even get started on the digital stuff. Like if no one's going to get to see them because they're buried. So it's really just thinking about like, why do I have this? And like, how do I want it? How do I want to keep it? And how do I want to store it? And in many ways, like, how do I want to honor like why I've saved this for so long? This tells our family story or this tells my story. I mean, I saved many, many journals. Many journals. Not everyone cares to keep their journals, but I'm like, I'm gonna reread that. My kids are gonna read that.
Cringe when I reread it, so I'm not one of those people.
I've definitely ripped some pages out where I'm like, I don't need to read that part.
That's fair.
And some things, honestly, I mean, and I will say this is where Marie Kondo and I differ. She's like, you don't really need to say a lot of sentimental things because that season of your life is over. Like that thing served its purpose. That letter that they wrote you, they said what they wanted to say. They're not currently saying that to you anymore. They said it to you in that moment when you needed that word. And so like, that's done. So you don't need that card. Some people are like, what? You can't do that. So it's really like, it's very personal and just like what people are comfortable with. But yeah, sentimental is like a tricky category. So that's a good category to ask follow-up about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, this has just been a wealth of information. So thank you so much for all of this.
Wow.
But I know people may or may not still have questions and other things and maybe would want to know how to better walk through the process. So if they want to get in touch with you to kind of ask those things, learn a bit more, where could they do that?
Business is called Make Room. The website is makeroommpls.com. makeroommpls.com. And then my email is Gretchen@makeroommpls.com. So I love answering questions about this, obviously.
100%.
And I have found it too, like people, when they find out that I'm doing this professional organizing thing, they're like, oh, I can't have you over. Like, I don't want to, you'll be so like appalled or like, it's so embarrassing. And I'm like, I literally hired someone to do this in my home. Like, I didn't know how to do this. I had to learn this. And that's why I'm like so excited for other people to learn it because it's doable. Like anyone can learn these skills and like have it be something that catches. So, for those who have questions that feel like embarrassing or whatever, even when I talk to clients who are like, I have to clean my house before you get here. I'm like, it's fine. I'm not going to be surprised by whatever I see. So yes, definitely. I love answering questions about organizing, which is a funny thing to say now in my life, but it's true.
It's true.
It's so true.
Yes. Well, thank you again so much for all of this, for being here today.
I love it.
If you do have those questions, send them over to Gretchen at those email addresses, one way or the other. And thank you everybody again for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you next month. So the first Tuesday of every month, 2 Cent Tuesdays. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment if you would like to, and we will see you next time.
That's so good. 2 cents. I like that.